Hey, welcome back, everyone. Episode 2 of Skirmish Gauntlet Blitz Everfest series. We got an exciting game for you today as Tariq takes on Lexi into myself playing one of our new heroes out of Everfest, Iyslander. Pretty exciting Blitz game for you today. We're knee-deep in the Blitz Skirmish season 4 right now. So we wanted to bring you another exciting gameplay, exciting episode today. What's going on with you, Tariq?
Not too much. I think you took the words right out of my mouth. Two very fun champions or heroes indeed. Lexi, one of my favorites. You know, a champion that draws a lot of cards, plays a lot of cards, a lot of different game actions you can take to kind of maneuver the game the way you want.
All right, let's get right into the game. Here we go. All along on the right side. I'm playing Iyslander, and Tariq's playing Lexi on the left.
Yep, and one of the key cards in this matchup for me will be the Heart of Ice. So Heart of Ice makes it so if your opponent casts a spell or an ability during your turn, it costs one additional resource. Very, very powerful against wizard classes because they like to play at instant speed. And putting a Heart of Ice on the chain makes it so they have to play all their spells or be taxed before I even put my first attack on that combat chain. So forces the wizard player into an awkward situation of do I play my spells or do I block without full information. So I believe I'm on the draw here. Rob is first to play. One of the most powerful things about Lexi is that even on the draw, you are going second, you are still able to Voltaire at instant speed, giving yourself a 5-card hand on turn 2, or turn 1, excuse me.
Yeah, the Heart of Ice is like deadly for wizards. It just makes it so hard, I would say. You know, to really like just do what you want to do, right? Like you want to play at instant speed, you want to play on their turn, you want to be playing Channel Lake Frigids out of your arsenal, you want to be playing Emeritus Scalding, Voltic Bolt, all these blue strip actions out of your arsenal. It's really strong with Iyslander. And just so everyone knows, Iyslander starts actually with 18 life. We fix that and show the hero card. So follow along, you know, on the life counter here.
Yep, that's absolutely right. So going into my turn, a 5-card hand because I was able to Voltaire at the end of Rob's first turn. So I start the turn by activating my Heart of Ice. Rob now has to choose whether to respond to it or let it resolve. Rob choosing to let it resolve, so Heart of Ice is on the field right now, meaning anytime Rob wants to play an ability or block even with a defense reaction such as Sink Below or Fate Foreseen, he has to pay an additional resource, which is absolutely huge.
Yeah, it just causes so much problems. You know, like you want to use your resources so effectively and almost like really perfectly and cleanly as a wizard player, and sometimes like you're just one resource short or you know or whatnot without Heart of Ice. So with Heart of Ice active, it just throws so much more wrench into the mix. It's almost like they continuously get a Channel Lake Frigid like every turn with Heart of Ice being active, you know.
Yep. So Blizzard being played on my Bolton shot. Because Blizzard is an ice card, Iyslander's ability does actually create a Frostbite token behind it as well. So I have to pay 2 resources just to give this attack go again, and an additional resource if I want to do anything else. So my hand being Endless Arrows and 3 of a kind means I likely can't pay for both of these. So my choice right now is do I want to cycle the Endless Arrow or not? Or do I want to keep it in my hand? So I'm deciding what to do with Blizzard. You know, attacking at this point is out of the question. It's kind of just, do I like the card Endless Arrow or not, or do I want to dig an extra card to guarantee me, or sorry, I should say, make my odds of drawing a blue card more likely. So I think here we kind of just let the Blizzard resolve. You know, we keep the Endless Arrow. I do like it because it is endless. So it often can give you multiple attacks, even with just 1 arrow. So the attack resolves, you know, Rob ends up blocking it out. We go ahead and set the 3 of a kind for hopefully a big turn next turn.
Yeah, Endless Arrow can be endlessly annoying, if you will. The more it just doesn't go away. You know, if you're not blocking it out, You really want those things hitting the bin, especially with Lexi being able to activate Voltaire a ton of times, giving things go again, with the hero ability as well. Just blocking that out, making it go to the bin is definitely where it's at on the other side of Lexi.
Yep. And one of the problems with Lexi is sometimes your arsenal does get a bit clogged up, right? We don't want to lead with three of a kind because we don't want to get stuck with redundant cards, but we want to lead with a card with go again so that we can use Voltaire, activate, flip the face down card face up, and use the New Horizon to utilize our second arsenal zone. So we're going to go ahead and run out the Art of War, kind of a naked Art of War, giving +1 to all of our attacks, with the next attack getting go again, allowing me to kind of clear out that arsenal to hopefully string together a bigger turn than what we started with. But an unfortunate another Blizzard, the second one from Rob, kind of shuts down any plan we had for a big turn.
Yeah, Blizzard's a pretty sweet card out of Arya. Ice Guard, it stops go again in its tracks. Really the first of its kind, and tied in with Iyslander's ability of whenever you play, an Ice Guard on your opponent's turn, it creates a frostbite. It just makes Blizzard that much better. We got put in a good spot here where Tariq didn't activate Heart of Ice yet, so Blizzard is still free. But it looks like Tariq is going to respond to the Frostbite trigger by playing a Lightning Press of his own.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And the reason to do this is because I want to keep the one resource floating in case Rob decides to throw some arcane damage my way. So being able to sequence it like that, Lightning Press before Frostbite, allows me to kind of get around paying the additional resource, meaning if any damage comes my way, I can absorb it. Which is very big with Rob's staff, because with that staff, he's able to do 1 additional damage and draw a card if I don't have the war resource floating.
Here's a new card out of Everfest. This is a Emeritus Scalding blue. You're allowed to play it from your arsenal from Iyslander's ability if it's not your turn, because it is a blue strip, not attack action. It does say if it is played on an opponent's turn, it deals 4 arcane damage instead of 2, which a pretty good way for us to try to chip in some damage here and there, and then we'll just block with 1 card, a 3 block of the red version of the Emeritus Scalding from our hand.
Yep, and we are out of action points, and our arsenal is unfortunately face down, so just kind of have to pass back to Rob here. I do have the Endless Arrow in hand. One of the other lines we could have done, and maybe a bit of a sequencing error, is I could have started with Lexi flipping my face down arsenal face up, so that I could have chosen to use that resource to put the Endless Arrow face up in my arsenal, but instead deciding to pay for the Arcane Barrier instead, opting for more life rather than more cards. But we go into our turn still with a 5-card hand, very powerful, and we lead with the Heart of Ice. Again, I think after playing this matchup several times, Iyslander is very tricky. And Rob's about to show me why you should often sequence Lexi first and then Heart of Ice. This is a brutal Channel Lake Frigid from Arsenal, not only giving me a Frostbite token, but now taxing any activated abilities I will subsequently use.
Playing this on playing Channel Lake Frigid on your opponent's turn, they've already gone through the motions. They've planned out what they're planning to do in their head. Really just throws a wrench right in the mix. Channel Lake Frigid just makes everything cost an additional resource on top of creating a Frostbite from Iyslander's ability. It's great because you could play it from your arsenal because it has a blue strip, a blue pitch strip, and is a non-attack action. So really kind of just showcasing what this new hero from Everfest is all about right here.
Yep, and that's absolutely right. So I have to pay 2 resources just to activate Lexi's ability, and I get functionally nothing because it is just a 3 of a kind in Arsenal. It's not an ice card, it's not a lightning card. So I basically just threw 2 resources out the window. I have to pitch an additional blue just to attack with an Endless Arrow, which in all other circumstances is 1 resource for the Voltaire and otherwise free to attack with. So quite an inefficient turn for me, coming at Rob for 4 damage. Hoping it hits, put the Endless Arrow back in my hand, live to fight another day. But the ball's definitely in Rob's court at this point as to dictating the pace of this turn because of Channel Lake Frigid.
Trying to really just figure out my blocks well here, and I think we just land on the sink below. We're thinking about the sink, but yeah, the sink below is the right play. The sink below will cost 1 because of Heart of Ice being active, and I think it's just the right play there. We won't block with the Skull Cap and the other card. Endless Arrow will go back to hand, but with Channel Lake Frigid out, I think it's going to be hard to really utilize a lot, or play a lot of attacks. Just being really like resource starved. So we're okay with taking that 1 damage and letting it go back to hand.
That's absolutely correct. And one of the biggest things about Channel Lake Frigid in this deck, playing it at instant speed, basically allows it to be on the field for 2 turns with only 1 counter, and upwards of 3 turns if it gets up to 2, because it was on my original turn as a 0, will be here for a second turn with 1 counter on it, and probably on my turn for a 3rd turn if it ever gets if Rob draws 2 ice cards next turn. So an absolutely brutal card. And even though I have 6 cards in hand, I am very choked on resources.
Yeah, Iyslander is able to keep out Channel Lake Frigid a little bit easier than some of the other decks that play the card as well. Having Kraken Aethervein, basically you could pitch a Ice Blue, and the deck only plays ice cards that are blue essentially. As an instant, and then you could use your action point to play another, card, pitching another ice card. So trying to keep Channel Lake Frigid around for as long as possible is definitely something you want to take account of. You also want to try to chip in damage as much as you can with this deck while being a little bit defensive and trying to keep the life totals fairly close.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. So, on this turn, we're leading with the very standard Lexi flip, Heart of Ice sequence, forcing Rob to play at instant speed now rather than after we start putting attacks on the combat chain. So, going to go ahead and lead off with 3 of a kind. The idea here is this obviously is not going to be the most ideal turn in the world, but we want to start stripping cards from Rob's hand if possible, to try and get the Channel Lake off the battlefield. Because if it hangs around, it means more subsequent turns off that I don't want to have. And if Rob wants to keep it around, which is an option he always has, he has to pay the iron price for it. He has to give us life just to keep the 2 cards in hand to keep the Channel Lake Frigid around another turn.
Yeah, great point there. If we want to, like you said, if we want to try to keep this around, the only way to do that is by pitching 2 ice cards next turn. That would be 1 to the wizard staff, and then we'd have to play another card of whether it be a non-attack action or an attack action, whatnot. We'd have to pay for it with another ice card. So we're looking at 3 total cards. So we will be taking some damage here. I think the value in trying to keep Channel Lake Frigid around is pretty. It's definitely appealing, and it might not be the right play at this point in the game, but that's definitely the line we go with. So we'll see if it pays off for us.
Yeah, and Endless Arrow always being endless is quite awesome. Being able to buy back a card makes this card probably one of the best, if not the best, arrows that Lexi has in her arsenal. I definitely had a lot of fun today playing with it. Was able to deal 2 points of damage to Rob. It pops right back in my hand. I have to pay 2 resources because of the Channel Lake Frigid, 2 Voltaire, putting the Endless Arrow back in my arsenal, pitching a red, and coming in again for 5 damage due to Voltaire's attack buff. So Rob now has to give me, either 2 cards from his hand, or he has to give me a card plus a pitch card for his Iron Gauntlet. So another card from his hand for the Iron Gauntlet. So either way, kind of demanding 2 cards from Rob or 5 damage with an arsenal on his next turn, which means a 6-card hand for Lexi.
I think blocking this out would have maybe been the right play on this second attack. We do kind of get a little greedy, I would say. We're kind of married to the fact of us trying to hang on to Channel Lake Frigid. It will hit, it will return to hand, and Tark's going to be able to arsenal that endless arrow. So definitely kind of scary. Into our turn, we're looking at, again, trying to just keep Channel Lake Frigid around for another turn. So we'll play the Voltic Bolt here out of our hand. Just come in for 3 arcane damage. I don't think Tariq's really concerned about the arcane at this point in the game. He's ahead 10 life, has a nice little cushion. Really just wants to go into his turn with 6 cards, especially if I'm going to keep Channel Lake Frigid around, which I now will be pitching 2 ice cards. We'll be able to keep that Channel Lake Frigid around another turn. Tariq needs as many resources he can possibly get on his turn to threaten more damage.
Yep, and right now it's an interesting decision point. So I have a bunch of red cards in hand. Had I had another blue, I would have snapped off Pank for this this 1 arcane damage coming my way. But one thing we do have going for us is Rob is out of action points, and he already has a card in arsenal. So right now this is kind of functionally only representing damage. It is true that he will draw a card, but unless he can play it at instant speed and with only 1 resource floating, it's likely just going to be a redundancy that we'll get him up to 4 cards at the end of turn anyways. And sure enough, we take the 1 damage down to 13. Rob ends up passing priority and drawing up to 4 cards anyways. So the extra card drawn by the staff is inconsequential, and we get to go into our turn with a full 6 card grip. But every card matters in this scenario because we are so resource thirsty because of the Channel Lake Frigid in play.
Yeah, the one and only card I remember when I was drawing the card off the Kraken Aether Vein, that was looking pretty spicy, would have been just like another snapback red, or like something like Blazing Aether. You know, being able to with that 1 resource floating, crack the Storm Striders and then play Blazing Aether would have been pretty sweet to threaten another 4 damage, but didn't happen, and that's you know how the game rolls. You know, you just got to roll with the punches, and we're on the defense now during Tariq's turn.
Yep. So very unfortunate to have to pitch a red to play a red. Likely just going to put 8 damage in Rob's face. Try and get out of this turn while I can. I do have, you know, a Lightning Surge red in hand and a red Lightning Press. So the question now becomes, do I want to give up 2 cards to keep Endless Arrow around? Or if Rob blocks this out fully, do I just set, you know, the Lightning Surge in arsenal, keep the Lightning Press in hand for next turn? So it largely depends on what Rob chooses to do and what card Rob gives us and whether or not he has a response behind it. Because keep in mind, Heart of Ice is not active this turn, so Rob is unhindered to play the hand as best he wants. But he's given us 3 cards at this point, so there's no reason to kind of overextend into this. Might as well just set our arsenal, take our win while we can, and just get to the next turn ahead of card.
Yeah, I definitely think that was the right play. Getting kind of greedy and maybe paying for the press. You know, you leave no arsenal. You know, that's just kind of open season for me on my turn. So my turn's just going to be an E-Strike out of arsenal. We'll choose the mode, draw a card. Just 5 damage, and then we'll get to replace the arsenal with the card we've drawn. We won't be able to keep Channel Lake Frigid around a 3rd turn. That would be incredibly greedy if we were, and I don't know that I frankly have ever seen a Channel Lake Frigid stick around 3 turns, but I would definitely say we've definitely gotten the bang for our buck out of that Channel Lake Frigid there.
Yeah, no, one of the better Channel Lakes I've ever seen. So starting this turn off right, you know, activating Lexi's ability in case he does not have another Channel Lake Frigid in arsenal. Then leading with Heart of Ice. So once again, demanding Rob to respond to us if he chooses to do so before we start putting attacks on the field. Rob goes ahead and says that's fine. The Heart of Ice is now on the table, meaning anything he does cost 1 additional resource to play. We activate Voltaire, choosing +1. The Go Again is also intrinsic from the Lightning Surge being flipped to Lexi's ability. So we're coming in here for 5 damage with Go Again.
It's a snap block for 5 from myself with an Enlightened Strike and an Icy Encounter blue. Tariq just goes right into the next attack here. This is a Lightning Surge from Arsenal with Go Again. Just really going wide here and threatening a lot of damage. Pretty scary for us as the Iyslander player.
Yep, and this is where Lightning Surge, or excuse me, Lightning Press really shines because Rob has to play perfectly from this point forward, and any sort of misblock or underblock just immediately will end the game. So Rob going down to 3 life. I still have an activated ability and 1 resource floating for Voltaire. Able to put an arrow into my arsenal and fire it off for 5 damage. You know, at this point, I have 8 damage functionally in my hand, which means Rob needs to block for 6, or he risks dying right now to that Lightning Press in hand.
Yeah, definitely pretty tough. You know, probably could have just overblocked. With Tariq having the Lightning Press, you know, there's not really much I could have done. Only having 2 cards or 1 card in hand, there's nothing I can do. Heart of Ice is active, so I can't even use my Tunic counter. The better play for me just to live, and I actually wouldn't even live there. But I probably should have activated the Tunic in response to the Heart of Ice trigger, just to have that extra resource floating to potentially block with the Ironhide Gauntlet. But because Tariq's got the Lunging Press, it just comes over the top and closes the game out. So that was a pretty solid game there between Tariq and myself from Lexi and Iyslander. We really enjoyed showing one of the newest heroes out of Everfest and showcasing what that hero can do. There's a lot of cool builds out there. We kind of went for the more split between attack actions and control-y build with Channel Lake Frigids. You know, we had like the Enlightened Strikes in there. We played like one Exude Confidence as well. Really enjoyed playing the deck, and it was definitely a lot of fun playing it into Lexi this afternoon with Tariq.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Iyslander, quite an impressive hero. Just sitting across from her really makes me want to try her out. Combining both the best aspects of Wizard, the aggressive, direct damage, hard to interact with playstyle that you typically get from Kano, while mixing the disruptive elements of the elemental heroes like Oldhim, specifically the ice cards that make it so taxing to play against. So very unique and fun, interesting, complex hero that LSS has designed. And if you are somebody that likes to solve puzzles, really likes to kind of mold your gameplay which way, this way and that way, depending on what the situation calls for, this is the hero for you. But anyways, this has been a great game, and it was a lot of fun to play with Rob today. If you want to see more of this, please stay tuned. We do a weekly video series over at channelfireball.com. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at TarkPatel10. Rob is at TalarianD. And yeah, hope everybody enjoyed these videos, and we'll catch you next time.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time, everyone.